For 28 years she lived in hiding. No one knew that the silent woman was a fugitive nun who held a secret capable of shaking the church. She entered the convent at 16, seeking God, but what she found behind those sacred walls forced her into a desperate flight for freedom and justice. What did she see that night? Before you continue, please leave a like so that this message can reach more people. Subscribe to the Life Memories channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our moving stories. Comment below what city you're watching from so we can connect. What if the place you believe to be the most sacred and safe in the world was in fact your prison? This is the question that haunted a woman for 28 long years. She was a nun who took her vows at 16 with a pure heart full of faith. But what she discovered behind the convent walls was a secret so shocking, a truth so terrible, that it forced her to make a decision that would change her life forever. To flee in the middle of the night, leaving everything behind. The story you are about to hear today is a true story. One of those that makes us question everything we know about power, faith, and silence. This isn't just a story about an escape. It's the journey of a young woman who entered the house of God to seek light, but found a darkness so profound that she had to fight with all her strength to survive. Prepare yourself because we are about to reveal the truth about what really happened at the convent of St. Mary of Peace. She spent almost 3 decades living in hiding, in fear, carrying a truth that had the power to shake an entire institution. But as you will discover, the voice of truth can never be silenced forever. Sister Grace's journey is an emotional story of courage, resilience, and finally, redemption. A story that will inspire you, shock you, and above all, show you that it's never too late to fight for justice and find your own voice. Every great journey, no matter how painful it turns out to be, begins with a step of pure faith, doesn't it? For young Grace, that step was taken at 16, an age when the soul overflows with ideals, and the future seems like a book of blank pages. She didn't see the convent as an escape from the world, but as an illuminated path to serve a greater purpose. It was a calling that echoed in her chest like a soft melody, a promise of peace and meaning that, to her, was the most beautiful song of all. Who doesn't remember that mix of a shiver and excitement when entering a place for the first time that would change your life? Upon crossing the imposing stone gates of the convent of St. Mary of Peace, Grace felt exactly that. The air was thick, heavy with the smell of old wax, and an almost palpable silence, a silence of centuries. To her, those high walls were not a prison, but a protective embrace, a sacred refuge against the uncertainties of the world. Little did she know that the greatest uncertainties already lived inside. It's curious how the decisions we make in our youth, with hearts full of certainty, draw the map of our entire destiny. In taking her sacred vows, Grace wasn't just putting on a new habit. She was shedding her old identity in an act of total surrender. At that moment, she planted the seed of her devotion in a soil she believed to be fertile and divine. She could not have imagined that the same obedience she swore with such faith would one day be the chain that would bind her in the deepest darkness, the first shadows, the reality behind the sacred walls. In the first few months, the routine was like a relentless clock. Prayers before dawn, silent work, and frugal meals, all under the watchful eye of the Mother Superior. The image of a spiritual mentor that Grace had idealized gave way to a severe figure whose words were sharper than the cold of the stone walls. The young nun soon realized that the convent's discipline was aimed not just at order, but at a type of subtle and profound control, which began to prune the wings of her dreamy soul, one by one. It's impressive how human beings adapt. Grace, like the other novices, learned to find beauty in the little things, in the ray of sunlight that entered the chapel or in the taste of a fresh fruit, rare luxuries. However, there were rules that defied logic and compassion, such as the prohibition against comforting a crying sister under the claim that it fed weakness. It was in those moments that the first crack in her idealized faith appeared. A nagging doubt that whispered, could God be present in a place that punished empathy? The obedience she had sworn with such devotion began to acquire a bitter taste. It was no longer about following divine precepts, but about submitting to human whims, to a power that seemed to delight in submission. This realization was a slow and painful awakening, the discovery that behind the facade of holiness existed a complex system of power and silencing. The convent, her dreamed-of refuge, was slowly revealing itself to be a gilded cage whose bars were forged by fear. The dark secret, the night innocence, died. One cold night, an unusual sound broke the sacred silence of the convent. A muffled cry, almost a lament, coming from the forbidden wing where the Mother Superior's cell was located. She was violently holding one of the youngest novices, Sarah, a sweet girl who had arrived a few months earlier. There were no words of comfort, only cruel whispers and a look that Grace would never forget. A look devoid of any trace of compassion or divinity. In that instant, the veil of holiness was torn forever, revealing a face of evil she never thought she would find in God's house. The cry was not of repentance. It was of pure terror. Grace drew back in silence, her heart pounding in her chest, her breath caught in her throat. That scene became the dark secret that would haunt her nights, the irrefutable proof that evil was not outside the walls, but ruled within. Blind obedience was no longer a virtue, it was complicity. From that night on, fear became her constant companion, and the seed of escape began to grow, the idea that she needed not just to run, but to expose. The silent plan, courage born from fear. After that terrible night, fear could easily have become paralyzing, but sometimes it's at the bottom of the pit that we find the strength to look up. For Grace and Sarah, the shared fear became an invisible bond stronger than any convent wall. Communication was a dangerous game, made of furtive glances during meals and tiny notes, written with charcoal, hidden between the pages of prayer books. Every gesture was a risk, but also an act of rebellion that fed the flame of hope in their hearts. It is said that true courage is not the absence of fear, but action in spite of it. And that is what they did. The escape plan wasn't born from a moment of inspiration, but was built piece by piece, in whispers in the garden or during work in the laundry, the only places where the echo of their voices could be disguised. They observed the guards' routines, mapped the least watched routes, and saved pieces of bread, preparing for a journey into the unknown, driven by a single certainty: any fate was better than that, hell disguised as heaven. Their friendship became a sanctuary amidst the oppression. Grace, once an idealistic young woman, was now transforming into a strategist, a protector. Sarah, in turn, found in Grace's firmness the strength to overcome her trauma and believe in a free future. The plan was more than a simple escape. It was the reclaiming of their own lives, the affirmation that their spirits could not be broken. They knew the night of the escape would be the most dangerous of their lives, an all-or-nothing gamble, the night of freedom, the escape through the shadows. The chosen night arrived with a storm, as if the heavens themselves were covering their escape. Each clap of thunder was a disguise for the sound of their hearts hammering against their ribs. In the oppressive silence of the dormitory, every breath seemed like a shout. Holding a hairpin that Grace had spent weeks shaping into a makeshift key, they approached the old back door of the kitchen. That moment between darkness and freedom seemed to hold a lifetime of fear and hope. The creak of the lock sounded louder than any thunder outside. Outside, the rain and wind whipped their faces, a kind of chaotic baptism into their new life. They ran through the garden, their habits soaked and heavy, stumbling in the mud, their eyes fixed on the high wall that separated them from the world. We always think of freedom as a golden gate, but for them it was a cold, slippery stone wall they needed to climb, a final physical barrier representing years of psychological oppression. Upon reaching the top, breathless and scratched, they didn't dare look back. The convent, with its faint lights, was no longer a home but the tomb of their innocence. As they jumped to the other side, the hard landing on the wet earth was the first taste of freedom. They had nothing but the clothes on their backs and each other, but for the first time in years, they were masters of their own steps. The escape wasn't the end of the fight, but the true beginning of a long and arduous journey to find justice. The world outside, the first days of freedom. Freedom had the sound of rain, the smell of wet earth, and the harsh reality of an empty stomach. After years of living under a roof and a predictable routine, the outside world was a chaos of sensations. The car lights, the loud voices, the speed of everything. It was overwhelming. The first days were a pilgrimage along dirt roads, sleeping in abandoned barns and sharing the few fruits they could find. The fear of being recognized was a shadow that followed them, making every face a potential enemy. It was on the third day, exhausted and losing hope, that help came in the most unexpected way. An old farmer who stopped his truck when he saw them on the side of the road. He didn't ask many questions. Perhaps the wisdom of his years allowed him to read the desperation in their eyes. In his simple home, he and his wife offered them hot food, dry clothes, and a safe place to sleep. That simple act of kindness, expecting nothing in return, was the first light at the end of the tunnel, proof that God, as grace would come to understand, manifested in the compassion of people. This day with the farming couple was short, but crucial. They gave them some money and vital advice. To truly disappear, they needed to stop being fugitive novices. They had to create new identities, new stories, a new past. It was there that Grace and Sarah made the most difficult decision of their lives. They would die so that other women could be born from those ashes. This marked the beginning of 28 years of life in hiding, the voice that breaks the silence, the end of 28 years of fear. 28 years passed, 28 years living with a name that wasn't hers, always looking over her shoulder. Grace and Sarah, now known as Emily, built simple lives. Emily became a grandmother, finding in the joy of her grandchildren the peace that had been stolen from her. Grace, for her part, dedicated herself to community work, always helping others from the shadows. They lived a fragile tranquility, built on the foundation of a secret they never dared to speak, a wound that never truly closed. The change came on a rainy afternoon, much like the night of the escape. A television newscast reported an abuse scandal at another religious institution, and the victims' testimonies echoed their own pain with frightening accuracy. In that moment, something inside Grace broke. She realized that her silence, her safety, had a cost. The pain of other women. The phrase she herself would later say began to form in her mind. Do not let silence become an accomplice to evil. With a determination she hadn't felt in decades, she sought out Emily. Her friend, now her grandmother, hesitated, afraid that the house of cards of her new life would collapse. But Grace was firm. It was no longer just about them, but a matter of justice, of giving a voice to those who could not speak. That was the end of the fear. Grace picked up the phone and, with a trembling but resolute voice, scheduled a meeting with an investigative journalist. That day, she ceased to be a victim on the run and became the force for change the world needed. I had to forgive, not to absolve what they did, but to free myself from the anger that consumed me. And most importantly, I forgave God. For a long time, I lived in rebellion against him. How could he allow so much evil in his own house? Today, I understand that God was present all along in the courage we found to flee, in the kindness of the people who helped us, and in the strength we discovered within ourselves. Many ask me if I still consider myself a nun. My answer is always the same. In my heart, I never stop being Sister Grace. As for obedience, I learned that true obedience is not to an organization, but to the divine spark that exists within us. After 28 years of living in fear, I learned that life is not about avoiding suffering, but about finding meaning in our trials. Never allow anyone to take your voice. It took me 28 years to find the courage to speak. But when I did, I didn't just free myself. I opened the way for hundreds of other women. Today, the St. Mary of Peace Center has helped more than 3,000 women escape violence. Emily, the former Sarah, is now a grandmother of 4 and always tells me, "Grace, if we hadn't escaped, how would I have the happy family I have today?" This is the meaning of life, the ability to be reborn from the ashes. If you have followed my story this far, it means you believe in the power of truth. Please leave a comment saying, "I believe," so I know you're listening to me. Like this video if you believe that everyone deserves to live with safety and respect. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel because there are many other stories that need to be told, many truths that need to be exposed. Every subscription is a voice of support. My life has proven that it is never too late to start over, never too late to seek justice, and never too late to believe in love. Thank you for listening to me. Live true to yourself and remember, your voice has the power to change the world. May God bless you. Sister Grace's story is proof that courage can change the world. If you also believe this, please leave a like so that this message can reach more people. Subscribe to the Life Memories channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our moving stories. Comment below what city you're watching from so we can connect. And don't forget to visit our channel for more stories that touch the soul. Your participation is the force that drives us.